All right. This is John Williams. I'd like to call the Plan Commission for the Village of Cottage Grove to order. It is Tuesday, an unusual day for us, but Tuesday nevertheless, September 15th, because we usually hold these meetings on Wednesdays. I have 6:33 on my watch. We are holding this as a Zoom meeting. The Zoom connections are on the agenda, whether it's audio through your phone or through the computer through the Zoom app. And those are available there. We will start, just a reminder, everything that's on the Zoom is recorded and any of the chats as well. We'll get started with a roll call from Elisa, please.
Brinkmeyer.
Here.
Broom.
Here.
Justison.
Here.
Ratcliffe.
Ratcliffe here.
Sale.
Here.
Schultz. Williams.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right. Thanks, Lisa. The agenda was properly posted, and so we'll start off with item 3 with the Pledge of Allegiance. So please find a flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Item 4 is public appearances, public's opportunity to speak on any subject that is not a specific agenda item. So I'll pause for a moment to see if anybody's on the line that has a item they would like to speak with. I just remind any of the speakers to please let us know where they live and to hold their comments to no more than 3 minutes so that if we have multiple folks that want to speak, they can do so. So I'll pause with that right now.
Yes, this is Joe Bowers. I'm on with my brother Jeff Bowers. I'm a resident of the village, 143 Reynolds Street. And my brother and I own the property at 4600 County Road N, which is directly east across Highway N from the proposed development. And I would like to speak on item 6 when we get to that point.
All right, Joe. Thank you. Anyone else? All right, then we'll move on to item 5 is discuss and consider our meeting minutes for the Plan Commission from August 12th. Any comments or discussion related to that or edits from any of the commission members?
John, I have a comment.
Go ahead, Alex.
Number 7, motion carried with a voice vote of 7-0, but I think we only had 6 at that point. So that was the only thing I noticed. I think Kyle was out for the whole meeting. Other than that, I'll make a motion to approve with the change of number 7 to 6-0.
I'll second that motion.
All right, second from Don. Thank you, Alex. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody oppose? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. All right, then we move on to item 6. Item 6 is a public hearing. It is the opportunity for the public to provide input regarding a proposed general development agreement for Moving Out Incorporated for the Glen Grove, a 100-unit apartment project proposed for parcel 0711-043-006-0 and parcel 0711-043-0017-3. And then finally, the third parcel is number 0711-043-0028-0. I'll open the public hearing at this point. we'll kind of, just as everybody on the commission at least knows, we'll give folks an opportunity from the public to certainly speak. Again, for the public to please share where they live, as well as their name, and to hold it to no more than 3 minutes. And then, so we'll start with, to probably address some of those questions, though, we start usually with the presenter of the particular general agreement. In this case, it's moving out. And then there's items in our packet from the staff, so they'll go through those. Then we'll have Plan Commission member questions, from the applicant and staff, and then public comments. And then again, anything, we'll wrap it up after that, and then close the public hearing. So with that, we'll start with the applicant. So in this case, moving out. I think I saw at least one representative on the Zoom.
Yeah, so you've got Megan Schutz with Moving Out. And then I do have a few different members from my design team on, from JLA and Wiser Engineering. I think, Andy, were you going to share some of our slides? We can do kind of a quick...
Yeah. Dan Sutter is going to present for us.
Okay, I forgot who. It was one of you.
Let me call that up. Okay. And Megan, if you want to just say next slide, I'll run the slides.
Okay. I had a couple, sorry for the technical glitch. I had a couple introductory slides that maybe I'll share first.
Okay.
And I don't think I got those to you guys early enough in the day here, so I apologize on that. Seemed to be a day of meetings, but give me 10 seconds here. Whoops. It's weird when you go to slideshow view in Zoom. I never really know what is being shared. So I'm going to try it, and you guys are going to tell me whether or not you see something.
Megan, we see a set of slides starting with mission.
All right. Thank you. I'm just going to, you guys have heard me speak before. I'm going to give a brief overview just as a reminder about moving out and our experience with development, and then I'll hand it over to the architects to get into more specifics about the project itself and the packet that you guys saw. Moving Out is a statewide nonprofit that focuses on creating and sustaining safe, affordable housing solutions for people with disabilities and their allies. What that has translated to in our experience has been 18 multifamily developments, totaling over 1,000 units, of which about 250 of those are designated as what we call integrated supportive units, which means those units targeted to folks with disabilities, but they are scattered throughout the building. They're not segregated or congregated in any way. And we were really founded under the concept of providing that housing choice for folks with disabilities who really do have the ability to live and thrive in a community integrated home versus some of the options for people, which can include group homes or even nursing homes or living at home with mom and dad. So Moving Out, in total, we have identified our economic impact in just 1 year of developments on 4 of our projects, adding over $100 million to the economy and creating almost 500 jobs. That's just a quick review of who we are and where we come from. We're excited to present this proposal of 100 units in Cottage Grove. We put together a really strong, experienced team with ourselves as developer and service coordinator. JLA Architects is the architect. General contractor will be McGann Construction. Property manager will be ACC Management. and a variety of service partners that we'll work with to ensure everyone on site has access to services to sustain long-term positive housing with us. We've developed a variety of projects throughout Dane County, some experience in Madison, Wanakee, and a variety of other partner communities throughout the state. I'll touch quickly on some of the key points of the project, which is a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms across those 100 units, a variety of on-site amenity space, including on-site management, community room, fitness center, green space, raised gardens, a non-smoking environment to ensure a healthy living environment, and underground parking. And just a note on our accessibility, because you might hear it a few times as you look at our plans, we always meet or exceed code requirements, but we do incorporate more substantial universal design approaches. We really take design for our developments from truly creating units that work for everyone. So marketable to everyone, but livable by everyone. So you will see increased universal design approaches with, say, turn radiuses and things like that we just incorporate in all of our units. Because it doesn't hurt it if you don't need it, but if you need it, it's pretty darn handy. So that's just a quick overview from my perspective, and Dan, I can hand it back to you now.
All right. We'll jump through Megan's slides. Okay. If anyone can't see the cursor here, let me know, because that'll be important to showing you around the slides. We'll start with what's that?
We can see the cursor.
Okay, thank you. We'll start with the context site plan. You're looking at Highway N, East School Road, running along here, and Windsor to what is the west side of the building. So that's the big context, the BP gas station there. That's the big context of knowing just where this project is occurring. If I jump to zoom in a little bit, 100 units, 3-story building. As Megan mentioned, we're at 194 cars, 67 at the surface, the remainder at the lower level, and you'll see a lower level parking plan in a little bit. A combination of walkouts and balconies, and you'll see, especially in the 3D views, that's very dependent on the grade and how we basically have a grade fall from the northeast to the southwest of 16 feet plus or minus. So you'll also notice that there'll be some retaining wall for a small extent of the overall building where we needed to. You'll also see in other plans that moving out is very amenity orientated. We have a central courtyard created here with green space, outdoor seating, playground, and gardens for the residents. You'll also see in the parking plan coming up that we have 2 access points in and out. That basically we start at the top of the ramp down 5 feet and into the underground parking. I just included this civil to speak to a couple issues. Again, the retaining wall you can see along the north and the east corners of the building. And we also have an exterior surface retaining basin at the south end of the site, and that's supplemented by underground cisterns at these 2 points here and here. So those are the big civil items. Overall, just running through the building data before we take a look at the plans. 100 total units comprising of 230 bedrooms. That gives us basically 2 cars per unit and encroaching upon 1 car per bedroom. We have a mixture of 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms, 15% 1 bedroom, 40% 2 bedroom, 45% 3 bedroom. So those are the big data points. And then next, you can see the parking with the 2 access points, refuse at each end. The 2 entry points allow for much more convenience to the residents and their in and out and circulation. A core elevator bank, and then 3 stair locations here, here, and here. Mechanical, centralized at the corners. Now, if we zoom in on this a little bit. So this is the overall first floor plan showing the actual units developed and how those units work functionally. At the inside corners where units don't work, we have storage with 1 storage unit per unit. At the central, we have the amenity spaces, a club room, fitness, leasing office, and waiting area, parcels, mail, all the support systems. And what's nice about what worked out with the grading is we have a 0 entry point, so there's no steps, no ramp, and that's especially nice in the winter months. You can see again the amenity space here. Second and third floor are the same, and the same kind of strategy: centralized vertical circulation, corner storage. Now, when we flip to the 3D, overall the strategy, because of the length of the building, we worked from day one to really break down that length with an assembly of masses, almost feeling like a assembly or a community of houses where you read these separate masses, and then the masses are articulated by different materials. The materials palette consists of a beige utility brick here and climbing up and down as you go around the building. We have both a smooth composite panel and a lap siding. And the smooth composite panel is the brown, the gray here, and then you'll see some colored accents and colored masses on the other side of the building. But we have a blue, red, and green along with the cream here. So the gray here is lap siding at these locations, and then we call out the entry with a white composite panel and give that a little more attention, this being the public entry. Okay, that view is from the southeast. Now we're looking from the northeast. And although the building approaches being symmetrical, it doesn't feel that way because of the way we vary the materials and the colors. And you can see the retaining wall along here. So there's roughly 8 or so units that have kind of a walkout that is protected in a way from highway N. And there's definitely residents who appreciate kind of that screened walkout unit type. View from the northwest, getting up in the air a little bit. There you can appreciate the retaining wall and the screened walkouts. And you can see here where this the walkout becomes balcony just because of the grade change, and that occurs around the building. You can see the residence main entry off the surface parking. You can see that 0 entry point, and it's given more wayfinding special attention. And then you can appreciate the colored sidings along with the neutral colors that pop the colors, the red, green, and blue. Zooming in on the amenity area, where you can see a little more in detail just how those collection of amenities are grouped, and using the planters to kind of protect the kids from vehicular access all the way around. A very strong circulation between building and this amenity area. Moving outs, they're always concerned with children versus car circulation. So any way we can help reinforce the wayfinding and visual, make it stand out visually, we will do that. And then finally, view from the southwest, you can see the retaining or the retention basin in the foreground, along with that composition of materials. You can see that we're up in the air more here, so the walkouts turn to balconies whenever that occurs. So that is the quick tour. I'll stop sharing and open it up for questions.
All right, any initial questions from commission members? Otherwise, I'll turn it over to staff for their comments.
I have one. You said there was an on-site leasing office. Is there going to be like a property manager in that office, or is that just like a 9 to 5? If you need
Megan, you want to answer that?
Yep. So that'll be staffed during normal business hours. During lease up, you'll see folks there more often, say on weekends and that, but kind of standard staffing for property management. There will be a full-time property manager, likely a full-time maintenance tech as well.
On site, like living in the, or
No, it's an office.
So
yeah,
9 to 5, Monday through Friday, kind of a
correct.
thing. Okay.
Correct.
Is the underground parking, is that two-way? It looked kind of narrow, so I was verifying it.
It is two-way, and it's 20 feet clear, 18-foot wide garage doors.
I have a couple of questions on the masonry. Specifically, what type of masonry is it? You called it a utility block?
Right, a utility brick versus a modular. So the
Okay.
utility is slightly larger than the modular.
Okay, then what type of exterior finish? Is it a smooth finish, rough finish?
There'll be a slight texture to it.
Okay. My other comments is I'd prefer just the whole building to be the neutral colors. And some of the pictures Megan showed of the Madison and the Wanakee buildings, there was quite a bit more dimension. I know you've done quite a bit to break up that length of the building, but it's still one big long building. And I don't know, it seems like there could have been a little bit more to add a little bit more dimension to it. It's one big long building.
Other questions from commission members?
Can I just sorry to pound on this, but so you said like in the beginning when you're trying to fill it up, that leasing office will be open. Like when it's full, is that office going to be closed so there'll be nobody on site?
No, the office will be staffed during normal business hours. I said there might be some additional time on weekends during lease up, where you might have
Okay.
more of a presence as folks are there on the weekend. Yeah.
Got it. But somebody will be there all the time after it's full.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
I had one other thing too. I know Megan, when you were first on, I thought, and I don't know if Larry is on or not, but you guys were I guess there was gonna be some more discussion as far as the property tax, what you were looking for and then what the village was looking for.
Right. Now, and Aaron, I don't know if staff is on. That would be a separate conversation from our GDP approval, which is what we're talking about tonight, if I've got that accurate. But
I still think it's something that needs to be.
Yeah, I guess Don, maybe that's a good question for staff, because I was going to ask the same thing: is where in this process is that part discussed for review?
That's a negotiation between the developer and the village board.
Okay.
As part of any potential developer agreement. So this is more about the zoning and site plan. But Megan, it's up to you. If you can discuss the potential property value.
Yeah, I don't have that handy. I think that makes more sense as part of a separate conversation. Is something we're working through, and the property values are determined based on using an income valuation approach to determine that. I just don't have it handy right now. Sorry.
All right. Other questions from commission members? Otherwise, we'll turn over to Aaron and staff.
I think I mentioned this last time that we were on. I have heard from a couple of people outside of the commission regarding I think it's the Harmony property and the nuisance complaint that came up. So I'm just wondering if you could give me just a little more information on how this would be different from that.
So that is managed by a different company, owned by a different company.
But they were managed by ACC management at the time. So
no, they weren't. The nuisance came out earlier this year. ACC has not managed it since 12/31 of 19. So
right,
they
were the management team when there were calls. There were several calls, and that was the beginning of the process.
I can't speak to those calls. I can only speak to our discussions that we have had with ACC about that topic. There is a reason why they are no longer managing that. That was a choice that they made.
Okay.
But beyond that, ownership approaches and management approaches with moving out are different. We've never had a property in that situation, and we always have. We will do outreach with local PD and other groups to ensure that we're kind of setting off on the right foot.
Okay.
To ensure that we've got good security plans in place and relationships established. And the management will kind of take that moving forward. But I can't really speak to decisions of another owner.
That was a great answer. Thank you.
Kim, good questions. I mean, I had that as well, so I can cross that off my list, because obviously management company and owners can walk away at some point, but then the community still has, the property, and then the situations to deal with. So thanks for bringing that up. I had that on my list too. So thank you.
And just as a note, two notes on that, as affordable projects, we are required to be part of the ownership for the first 30 years. We're also a nonprofit that's based, has a mission focus on this work. So we're not the type of developer that is looking to develop and then sell and move on. That's not, as a nonprofit, simply not what we do.
All right, thanks, Megan. Aaron, do you want to?
Sure. So this is being approved as a planned unit development, which is a type of rezoning that's a two-step process as opposed to the regular one-step rezoning process. That's due primarily to the size of the project. Our typical zoning categories would not account for a project of this size. That doesn't mean we don't want projects like this or that they're not allowed. It just means that they have to go through this PUD process with the two-step approval and the extra review that comes along with that. That said, there's a few, I guess more specifically than just saying the size of the project, there's a few areas where this would be above and beyond what's typically allowed in a MR12 multifamily district, which is geared towards a maximum of 8 unit buildings. And the conditions of approval would just reflect each of those, so we have them documented. One is that the building height may exceed 35 feet per the submitted building elevations. I believe they were up to 40 in some locations. The landscape surface ratio may be less than 50%, as shown on the site plan. I believe it was about 43%. The floor area ratio may exceed the 0.275. I believe it was 0.95. The building coverage may exceed 30%. It's at 33%, so fairly close. And then there was a typo in the staff report where half a sentence got left off here, but the number of parking spots would match what's shown on the plans. I believe it was 197. Per our ordinance, this would require 223. But as Megan pointed out, with the affordability aspect and the aspect that this is geared at least partially towards families with disabled family members, there's documentation that this could most likely use fewer spaces than what we would require. The only other condition I had was that all signage would require a sign permit prior to installation, but it should be substantially similar in size and location to what's being shown on the plans. And then I believe Kevin had a few topics to hit on from his staff report as well.
Thanks, Aaron. Yeah, I didn't have too much. However, one of my comments was the sidewalk along the east side of the building was kind of basically shown within the property, and if it'd be recommend that be slid out to the right of way to match with the sidewalk that's basically there. It doesn't come all the way up there, but it's planned to basically come along the right of way on at Annan School Road right there. So it would basically be planned as a sidewalk that would run continuously all the way through. Otherwise, it looked like there was a 6-inch water main plan for the site. The site right now, it looks like has 2-inch water main or services that were stubbed in for the lots. So, and they need obviously larger, so that seemed appropriate. At the connection, they had a bend at the connection of the sanitary sewer, so we'd require a clean out or something there just to basically be able to access that. I had the same comment basically as Aaron did on the signs. I just didn't know where they were located on the site based on, and maybe I just missed that as well, but I couldn't tell where they were at. And then we have been working with them on the stormwater as far as a couple connection points that exist from the gas station site and what they had to do on site and everything. So those were the comments I had.
All right. Thanks, Aaron. Thanks, Kevin. Any questions for either Aaron or Kevin?
I had a quick question for Megan I thought of. Is there any transportation, or do you partner with transportation on a building like this? Or do you have vehicles or buses?
Yeah, we don't own vehicles at all. In terms of individuals with disabilities that might live on site, we do see a lot of those folks utilizing shared transportation options as part of their kind of services that they come with from their disability services. So we do always establish a very clear and safe pickup and drop off area by the front door. We always establish a waiting area so it's easy for people to access those services. That can range anything from cabs. We see a lot of folks utilizing cab services to, kind of to the smaller buses that are available through shared transportation. But that typically comes with an individual versus something that we would organize for the property as a whole.
Thank you.
Let's see. So when I'll just make a couple of notes, I guess, or comments. I've seen my neighbor require transportation at their house. A bus comes to get them and transport them. So I don't think it's unusual that an apartment complex would have a company come to take them where they may need. I know somebody that lives in the apartments that on Penny Lane that I think are moving out properties, and she loves living there. She loves her neighbors and enjoys where it's located, and that it's an easy walking distance to a lot of businesses. So I'm looking forward to that in our community. Also, my mom lives in a senior living with affordable senior living as well, and she enjoys that. And there haven't been any problems there or at my friends' apartments that are also affordable housing. So I think it's kind of I don't feel like we give these same considerations to other apartment complexes, and I don't really think that's fair to necessarily go into such depth on this project, and maybe it's not meant in any way in particular. But I do appreciate the answers that Megan has provided to us. One thing on a different note is for the parking spots, usually the village does require more. I'm glad to see that it's not the amount that we typically require, because as there have been a lot of communities in the past several years that have gone away from requiring so many parking spots that generally don't get filled. They're just an in case. And I don't think that helps our environment to have a lot of empty parking spaces available. So I appreciate that it's not up to our normal level, and I hope that we will look at that in the future as well. So that's all I have right now. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Melissa. Any other question or comments, at least in this part of the public hearing portion?
We had the Bowers.
I'm getting to that, Alex.
Okay, I didn't want you to forget him.
Nope, I won't. All right, so
there's been a lot of good comments, as Melissa mentioned. So.
Yep. So I've got a couple other quick comments, and then I'll get to these first. Otherwise, I don't want to forget them. So Aaron received 2 emails, which I will forward or have Aaron forward them to the commission members and Elisa. The first one I have here is from F&F Home Construction, and says, "Dear Aaron, this is a note to express my deep concern of the proposed general development plan for Windsor Street and Highway N. I'm an owner of rental property at 1209, 12 through 1215 Windsor Street in the Cottage Grove community. In fact, our property is directly across from proposed development. I do not view this development as a positive step for the future and planning of Cottage Grove community. Mainly, of course, I am concerned that the proposed multifamily apartment complex will lower property value of the area along with everyone else's. I have seen how this type of development has affected communities, and I have never seen it in a positive manner. I've attached a photo of the Sun Prairie development going on right now, and just cannot help to wonder what the homeowners think. Their home is now surrounded by a 3-story apartment complex. To think his property value didn't go down is wrong. The 100-unit apartment complex will bring unbelievable traffic congestions to what is now an area busy street, where are the 100+ cars going to go for the tenants of this building. I'm not sure that this will produce the revenue from local government that hopes, but I am sure that it's going to cause a presence of tenants and homeowners in the surrounding area problems in the future, accidents almost certainly. On top of this, I am certainly diminishing the opportunity for my rental business to succeed by now having compete with a larger, newer, more elaborate complex on the same street. And I'm concerned that the lower rental rates in the area will work to compete with development and in essence to leave us without possible struggling to find qualified tenants for our units. The fact that you have actual change in zoning to accommodate this project makes it hard to believe that this is being considered. I did not build the 4 units thinking that a 100-unit building was going to be blocking the sun every morning. I hope you consider any thought allowing a large development to be constructed in this area. To never thought such a thing could happen. Thank you for consideration of my thoughts. Cordially, Mike Foss, CAC Properties. Second one I have, again, to Aaron, and we'll get this out to the commission members. These came in, Aaron, my name is Bill Weber, and my wife and I own the 4 units at 201 through 207 School Road and 209 through 215 School Road. We have owned these buildings since they were built in the late 90s. I was in full support of the BP station and totally against the 100-unit on land that's not zoned for residential properties. I am hoping the village is not willing to change the zoning. This is way too high of a density for this area. My wife and I are gone on an anniversary trip this week and unable to attend the meeting. It seems to me the notification should have gone past the 400 feet when you were talking about zoning change such as an extremely high density project. I feel it is unfair that the village could change zoning for such a high density project. We will never would have invested 20 years ago if we had even known the possibility this would be happening. I have spoken with Andrew in the past about building a much lower density on these lots, and he said the village would not changing the zoning to allow rentals. What has changed and why such a high density project? Bill and Laura Weber. Those are the 2 that I want to make sure I shared. And I know that we have Joe Bowers. Joe, are you still with us? I hope.
Still here. Yes, I'm still here.
Please feel free to share your thoughts.
Yes, thank you. I attended the last month's plan committee meeting via Zoom and also the neighborhood meeting. And at those meetings, I have commented about traffic as some of John's emails that he shared with us. I haven't heard anything about improvements to Highway N, for example. I think the biggest improvement in terms of, I think we can all agree that there'll be some increase in traffic on Highway N and also School Road. The question would be how much traffic and how much inconvenience, traffic congestion would be caused. I know that Megan said that there will be fewer cars than a usual development, so I guess that says that there would be probably less congestion than you might expect from a typical 100-unit apartment, but there'll be some increase. One solution, of course, would be to extend Windsor Street to Gaston Road, which I think Aaron and Matt commented that probably will not happen until there's further development between the Commons apartment complex and this new complex. Just interested if there's any other consideration in terms of traffic congestion, and also for School Road. I don't believe the east-west. There's off of N. There's a right and left turn arrow. I don't believe there is for traffic on School Road, so there'll be some extra congestion there also. In terms of the sidewalk, that's going to be along Highway N on the east side of your building. And I have another comment about lighting, but will that sidewalk be lighted or illuminated? And just for lighting in general, when the architect went through the site plan, I didn't hear any discussion on lighting, although Appendix E of the submittal has quite a lot of detail about lighting, but it's more of a general nature of the type of lighting. I didn't see anything in terms of which type of lighting goes where on your site plan. I would presume that the parking lot is fairly well lit, but do the lights face pretty much straight down or do not extend beyond the property line? And then what type of lighting would we see or notice on our property at 4600 County Highway N? For instance, would that sidewalk be illuminated, and would we see lights shining, directly onto our property, or would it just be kind of background ambient lighting, which wouldn't be as much of a concern? Bright lights shining directly on our property would be a concern. So if the architect or someone might just describe where the position and what type of lighting would be on your site, I would appreciate it.
There'll be a lighting plan yet to follow. Lighting plans basically give you a grid of illumination levels across the entire site, keeping in mind your concerns, along with complete cut sheets, product information on all the different light fixtures being used. So that is basically a package we'll get from our consultant. That's just yet to follow.
All right, that would be in your precise implementation plan then?
And Andy, how would you, when would you see that happening? Andy?
I don't know that if it will make it into the precise implementation plan. The purpose of what we did include with the GDP was to give you an idea of what we've done on previous projects across the area. If it's not, I would assume that it would be a condition of the PIP that we provide that information for approval by the village.
Okay, thank you. All right, thanks, Joe. Is there any other members of the public that would like to speak during this public hearing session?
I guess, John, as a board member, I have just a final comment, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about the subject after the public hearing's closed, but unless it's related, you think you want to cover it now, that's fine. But otherwise, with the public's finished comments, and we'll close the public hearing at this point, and then we'll move on then to item 7 is discuss and consider a proposed general development agreement plan for moving out for the Glen Grove, a 100-unit apartment complex proposed on the parcels that I already rattled off before. So we'll get started with that. So, Alex, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, I guess. We just did the zoning update for these parcels, and now we're doing it again. Is that correct then, Aaron? Is that how we're... Because we zoned them for the mixed use, so we wanted, I'm thinking something more like, what's down by like the Coffee Town or Old Town, but here we need to do a zoning update again.
What we did last time was not a zoning change, that was the comp plan change.
Okay.
Now we're changing the zoning in a way that would be consistent with that comp plan change.
Okay. I think, the building looks good. I think it's big. Don's right. It's big. It's long. Kind of breaking up some of the lines, giving it some texture. I think there's some work that could be done there, and it's all resolvable. For me, though, as a holistic project, as on the planning commission, looking at all the standards and ordinances that we need to follow, and then also being a citizen in Cottage Grove, for the whole project, I'm not seeing that Cottage Grove is just too small, I think, to handle something like this right now, where we don't have a lot of social services. We don't have a public transportation system built in, and the huge negative impact to the village as far as taxes, is it not being a full market rate tax revenue for the village and for the school district. I just saw an announcement today. The school district's going to go back in for another referendum, and so bringing projects like this to the table, I think, is important. I think staff is doing a good job. I appreciate all the innovation that Moving Out's doing. I think there's value in projects like this, absolutely, hands down. For what it looks like for Cottage Grove at this point, I feel like we're just too small to handle the negative impacts on this. The economy scale just isn't there for us. That's really my last comment on that, John. So thank you.
All right. Other comments from commission members or questions?
I would say that currently we aren't getting hardly anything in taxes on those properties. So I don't think to say that it would hurt us to have this tens of millions of dollar project. I don't think that's really accurate. I don't think it's a negative impact. Our community needs a place for workers, new workers, in order to work at the new businesses coming to our community. That they see they see Cottage Grove as a business or as a bedroom community, which means that our workers leave our community. So we need a spot for new workers to be at. Also, new businesses like restaurants don't necessarily pay a large amount. So, or new businesses just starting out have new workers, they don't pay a great starting wage maybe. So this would allow our workers to live in Cottage Grove. So I think this is a great development. I think it's important that our community has this because right now we don't have affordable housing here. We need an option like this for our community. So I appreciate the comments, but I think that this is a type of housing that we need and a type of development that we need. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Melissa. Any other comments from commission members?
I just
Yes, I
wanted
agree with Alex. Okay, I'll finish, Kyle. I agree with Alex. I had made a comment at a previous meeting too about the lack of the public transportation. One of my employees has a sibling that is developmentally disabled, and she relies on. She's self-sufficient, and she lives in Madison, and she relies on the bus system to get her to her job, and that's very important for her to do that. And we don't have that option, and for her to have to pay every time a private outfit to transport her, I don't think is a doable thing. Also, just the scale of the building, once again, I'd like to see it more dimension. It's one big, huge building. I'd prefer to have several smaller buildings on a site like that. I'm not opposed to the housing per se, but on a much smaller scale. And once again, the colors too. I just soon see more of a neutral, more timeless look about it instead of trendy colors. So that's it.
All right, thanks, Don. Kyle, you had something?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify to Melissa that, when the daycare was going in over in the same location, I asked the same transportation questions. So I was just curious on what that looked like. I do like the project. I like the organization. I just don't like this location for the project. So it's really hard to switch zoning in our outlook in our plan without knowing the entire scope of the project and assignment. So that's my opinion.
Are there comments from commission members?
To address the public transportation question, because it's been brought up a couple of times. I just had a couple of comments. Is that okay?
Yeah, Megan. Sure.
Okay. So just to address, when we talk about people with disabilities having access to shared transportation, that's typically part of the services they quote unquote come with through being part of the family care system. So those are not individuals who are paying a cab ride every time the cab comes or paying for access to that accessible transportation. It's a service that's reimbursed through the family care program that they get funding for a variety of services for everyday living, whether that's housing, transportation, access to employment. There's a variety of different options there. But those folks that use those services, typically it's tied to the availability of those services to funding that they get through the state. Also, just in terms of the fact that they're, yes, there's no public transportation in Cottage Grove. Regardless of where this project is located, that's not going to change. But ultimately, the need for affordable housing does still exist. And those that rely solely on public transportation won't live in Cottage Grove because it doesn't exist, period, right? If that's a need they have. But you're in a community where your primary market area has a 1.3% vacancy rate. That essentially means there are no units available for people. So while the number of units seems a lot, we do have a market study that supports not only the need for the housing, a pretty short lease-up period, and all of our rents are adjusted to fit what the market study has determined the need and the achievable rents are. But that vacancy rate, a 1% vacancy rate, essentially means that no one can come into Cottage Grove and find an apartment to live in, let alone an affordable one, because there are no affordable existing, other than some naturally occurring affordable housing developments. So those are just the two comments I would add.
All right, thank you, Megan. Any other comments from commission members?
Can I just ask a question?
Yes,
and this might be more towards the commission, the committee. Is it normal to have this many variations from the zoning where we have this many things that need to be changed in order to have the project? Seems there's a lot of exceptions to rules, and I'm just wondering if it's normal to have that many. I've not been through this process yet.
Well, again, this is being approved as a planned unit development, which is basically a mechanism that's in the ordinance for projects like this that allow some of these standards to be directly applicable to the specific project. So it's not so much that we're granting exceptions within a zoning category. We're using a mechanism that's part of the ordinance that's there for projects like this to look at standards that are appropriate to the project.
Okay, so
another example of this was like Summit, which was, much taller and larger building, and
right. And I remember that sticking out, but I'm, with the floor area ratio and the landscape, like with all of those variances.
Cottage Grove Commons was another one that was very similar and had similar.
Okay.
in both hotels.
Material.
Yep, just trying to see if this is normal.
I think that's why it's a two-step process too. It's because these projects aren't the same in the sense that they are the same. In other words, you have to go through this in order to get the project approved, and you have to have a lot of eyes on it in order to move it through the process. So
another way to put it is it's essentially a negotiated it's a negotiated zoning between the developer and plan commission and board. So basically create our own zoning for the parcel. But in exchange, generally it's a larger building with, and we shoot for higher quality standards. And usually with that comes, either employment or diversifying housing or some other goal like that, or tax base. That kind of thing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I would note that this project also helps to maintain our population as well. We are in difficult times where people may have lost their jobs and not able to hold on to their housing. And most people in Cottage Grove live in a single family house or maybe a duplex. And this type of housing project would afford our residents to downsize and stay in our community as well. Because right now, especially with the 1.3% vacancy rate, as Megan had noted, they can't find anything in our community, and certainly nothing affordable if they don't have a job, or if they end up being a one-income household instead. So I think this is a good project for Cottage Grove.
all right, thanks, Melissa. Any other questions or comments from commission members?
I just have a question. Has there been any talks or looking at doing two buildings, or just has it always just been one, the way that it's shown?
So it has always been one. This project was originally proposed on a different site, and where we had a little more space. But the site where we're at right now, there's not a ton of room to accommodate multiple buildings and get the parking you need, and not just parking you need, but what is appropriate for the site, and also allow for green space, which is a really big priority for moving out as well, to not develop the site completely and have space in the outdoors.
Okay, and then there's no commercial aspect of this spot except for the office for the management company, just to verify?
Correct. I think in previous meetings, there were some discussions as to where a small amount could be located, and the general consensus was it was pretty awkward without access onto N. In addition, we got strong feedback from various commercial brokers that it would not be the most appealing location. And then COVID, which kind of further exemplified concerns over commercial space unlikely to be filled. A number of cities that I'm working with have started to rethink building commercial space that is likely to sit empty.
All right. Other questions or comments? All right, this is a discuss and consider for the general development plan. I don't know if anybody has thoughts around that.
I'll make a motion to approve the moving out general development plan with staff conditions, including the 197 parking spots.
All right, is there a second? I'll second then. So we have a motion and second for the proposed general development plan for Glen Grove on the 3 parcels in our agenda. Is there any further discussion? All right, having heard none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody oppose?
Aye.
Anybody abstain?
Aye.
John, was that a opposed or abstain?
May I suggest doing a roll call, Jen? Asking for a roll call.
Yeah, that's fine, Matt. Quality of the audio is not so great tonight.
Mhm.
So, Lisa, do you want to do a roll call for us?
There's Brinkmeyer,
Nay.
Sale,
Nay.
Williams,
Aye.
Broom,
Nay.
Justison,
Nay.
Ratcliffe.
Aye.
So it's 2 aye and 4 no.
All right. Thanks, Lisa. Motion does not carry. So we will move on then to item 8.
John, if I could just jump in quickly.
Sorry, Rick, go ahead.
So I guess just for clarity purposes, so this would just be a recommendation to the village board. So I guess for clarity purposes, is the intention here to be a recommendation to disapprove the project plan for the village board? Or I guess is it to come back with a different plan?
I guess I would leave that up to the nays. I'm not familiar with how we would approach that. Matt or Aaron, do you have ideas as far as your past experience?
It's kind of the way the motion was figured. There could, the other option, there could be another motion to recommend denial to the village board. That would probably be a cleaner way based on how the approval vote went.
Right. And basically the plan commission has 3 options here. It can approve or can recommend approval. It can recommend denial or can recommend approval with conditions. So those are really the only 3 options that the commission has at this point.
And I think we already covered the one with conditions, Rick, didn't we?
That's correct. At least that's the way I understood the last motion.
Yes, and that's the way I understood as well. All right, are any commission members open to providing more clarity to the village board?
I'll motion to deny this project at this location. I'd be open to having them come back with a different plan and possibly a different location. But I guess my motion is to deny at this location.
Okay, we have a first from Kyle to deny on this location. Is there a second?
Second.
And second from Kim. All right.
John, just for clarity, who's Rick again?
He's our representative, legal representative.
Yeah,
we don't have Larry today.
Yeah, I'm filling in for Larry. He couldn't make it tonight.
I wrote that down too. Who's the
All right. Because it's, you said there was 3 options. I mean, it's motion to approve and then it moves to the board. Motion to, this was denied, so it dies here. And then there are other options where you can make a motion to deny it and also allow it to go to the board for approval. I've seen that occur in other communities as well. So,
well, my reading of the ordinance is that the plan commission would have to. It wouldn't die here. You're just making a recommendation for not approving it.
Why do we need another motion? I mean, that's done then. It would go to it would show up on the village board agenda saying that it was not approved for recommendation.
Basically, it would just be for clarity purposes because the motion was to approve and that failed. So just to clarify what the plan commission's stance is as far as the minutes go.
Okay, so sorry then, John. What's the
Yep. So we
motion
have
approved again? Sorry.
so we have right now a motion on the floor to deny due to the location. From so it's motion second, and Rick, should we do another roll call to be specific on this to be consistent?
Well, John, to clarify, the motion is to recommend denial to the board
Yeah. Sorry.
by
Thanks,
reason
Kyle.
of this location. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think a roll call vote would be appropriate.
Okay.
What's the?
Go,
Can you
go
just
ahead.
read back the exact motion then, just so I'm clear?
Motion by Broom to deny this project at this location to the village board. Second by Sale.
Thank you. I'm clear. Thanks.
All right. All right.
All right.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Brinkmeyer,
Aye.
Williams,
Nay.
Broom,
Aye.
Sale,
Aye.
Justison,
Aye.
Ratcliffe.
Nay.
So we have 4 aye and 2 no.
All right. Motion carries then. Thank you, Lisa. Rick, that covers us a little bit better as far as providing appropriate direction, at least from the commission's perspective, to the board.
Yes, and I only bring that up because we were involved in a case where there was sort of this impasse and nobody really knew what the motion was. So that's why I always sort of recommend a final decision rather than, having the motion fail, I guess. So apologies for making everybody go through that.
No, that's why you're here. Thank you. All right, then we'll move on to item 8, which is a public hearings, public's opportunity to speak, provide input regarding a proposed conditional use permit for the Dolphin Swim Academy to allow indoor instructional land use, in this case, swimming school, on Lot 15 in the Cottage Grove Commerce Park. As I said earlier, we'll open it up. I'll open the public hearing now. And again, we'll hear from Dolphin Swim Academy, and there being the applicant presentation, provide input from staff, get feedback and questions answered from the commission, and then open it up to public comments. Again, providing their name and where they're located in the village, and again, holding that to 3 minutes just in case we have a number of folks. And this is all to obviously capture it for public record. I don't think I mentioned that before. So with that, is there a representative? I didn't see if Brittany was on or not. Dolphin?
John. I'm on, John.
All right. Okay. And I'm assuming you've got a few folks on your team with you tonight too as well.
I do. I can see Joe is on and Jesse is on, or was on. I think it looked like he got off here, or he might be on.
He's there.
There he is.
All right. Brittany, do you want to start at least? Because this is kind of your little company here. Go ahead,
John. Before she gets started, I want to step away on this one because I'll be abstaining. So do I need to fully get off the Zoom or just stay quiet?
I think you can stay quiet based on just trying to jump back in and out, and that's what you do in a public meeting anyway.
Yeah, I know you turn off your camera so they can't see facial expressions, and then just stay quiet. I'm just verifying for Zoom purposes.
Yes. Thank you, Kyle.
Sorry about that, Britt. Go ahead.
Oh, you're fine. Okay. So I'm Brittany Ballwick, the owner of Dolphin Swim Academy, and we are hopefully going to get a conditional permit use so we are able to build our swim facility. Our goal is to hopefully get it built and have lessons running for next spring to serve the Cottage Grove community and surrounding areas to provide a safe, quality swim lesson experience. And then I have my team, Joe and Jesse, in here also representing me and helping explain our project and all of our goals.
Yes, and I'm happy to walk through what's been submitted. We just had a review with the Architectural Review Committee this past Friday. And if you'd like, I can share my screen and just kind of give a brief walkthrough of what we're looking to do and then just open it to questions, if that works, John.
That does. Thank you.
All right. See if I do this right. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. I'm just going to jump to this second page. So yeah, as Brittany mentioned, we're proposing to put a swim academy here. North-south is Landmark Drive, east-west is Limestone Pass. So this is in the Commerce Park, pretty much across the street from the previous project, just diagonally across the street. So we are looking at entries off of Landmark Drive and Limestone Pass with a discussion in the future for an additional building and a completion of the loop. So what we're discussing this evening is the area that's in white, and then obviously Brittany's building. Future discussions, as we've also had with the Architectural Review Committee, for a future building that's not figured out yet. So that would be something that we would, in 2 to 3 years down the road, come back for approvals again. Just kind of going into the plan here, as you enter the facility, this would be swimming instruction and education for children. You'd have a viewing area where parents would be able to watch the lessons as they take place. I know Brittany's considering some deck seating to allow, again, additional viewing of swim lessons. As you come in, we have a shared family locker room, which would allow for changing of younger children to take place who need assistance. And then, lockers, showers, toilet accessories, and then obviously eventually you come out to the swimming area. So parents would have a direct view of the swimming facilities. Staff has their own separate locker area, which also has direct access into the pool. A pretty typical of a swim facility. Brittany is able to have, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Brittany, up to 10 or 11 instructors going at one time with this setup. There are 2 full length lap lanes for additional swim training, etc. Was someone? I thought I heard someone talking. Sorry. No? Okay. We do have on-deck showers, just to alleviate children coming out of the locker rooms and going right into the pool. Office area that's just for staff, for Brittany to have an area to welcome, prospective children to the swim school. And on the northern part of the building is where all the equipment for the pool would be held, with its own external access to the chemical room and external access into the equipment room to keep that separate from your public primary functions. Zoom out here. This is actually updated from what was submitted, because on Friday on the Architectural Review Committee discussion, it was determined that they would prefer we did not use a wood siding. We were proposing a hardy type or LP siding product, sorry. So this has been updated now to a hardy smooth finish board, a fiber cement product, which is allowed within the covenants for the front portion. I'm just going to skip to this rendering because it makes it easier. The front portion of the building being that fiber cement product with a stone base carried around, and then the rear portion of the building being metal siding, very similar to what the window cleaning building diagonally to the northeast did, to wrap around the swimming pool portion of the building. And then just, a view from Limestone looking back at the building with the summit in the distance. I think I'll leave this up for discussions, but that's it's pretty much the building.
All right. Any questions for Brittany or Joe or her team from commission members?
Would there be any open swim for the general public at any point, or is it strictly lessons?
Well, we do plan on having open swim times for general public. You do not need to be a member to utilize the pool.
Okay.
We will have select public hours.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
Yeah, John Brinkmeyer, being an HVAC guy, I know there's a substantial amount of equipment that goes along with a pool facility. I'm thinking that it's not all going to fit in that equipment room.
Sure. So we will have, there'll be one unit that will take care of the front smaller portion of the building. There'll be a second unit that will actually be located outside of the building that will handle the pool area. So that was actually a comment that was brought up in the architectural review committee discussion. We were initially planning on using landscaping to shield that area, and it was determined that the architectural review committee would prefer that we actually have like a physical barrier that matches the facade of the building in some way. In the future, obviously, just kind of clicking back here, it will be hidden between the two buildings, but this could happen a year from now. This could happen 3 years from now. So our discussion with the review committee was that we will show that unit being screened by something that, matches the proposed facade composition of the building.
Okay, and then where are we going to place the unit for the west side of the building? I guess if it was me, I'd be doing 2 units because your locker room is a whole different ventilation class as the viewing area.
Yeah, this is Jesse with Remaker.
Yeah,
so the green area of the building would have 1 unit, and the yellow area of the building would have it's a separate unit. And like Joe said, there would be a separate pool unit that would be outdoors because, as you know, they're quite larger than something that could fit in the building. So.
Okay. Where were you going to put the units for the locker room and the viewing area?
They will be up in the structure.
Okay.
There is space above the ceiling, with the lean-tos of the roof, so there's adequate space up there.
And the condensing units? They'd be on the ground somewhere?
Yeah, we would most likely try to keep them all on the north side just because it's out of the main entry, I guess, and we'll be screening back there.
Okay.
For the other unit.
I guess it was something, it's not planning commission's deal, but I guess if you are going to have them kind of buried up above somewhere, you might want to look at replacement, which is always inevitable on access for getting them units, replaced as need be down the road.
Sure.
Yep.
I have a question as well, I guess, John.
Yeah, please.
So how do you fill a pool this big without draining our water tank? How does that work, right? This is probably the largest thing like this we've had in our community. Is that you tanker it in, you just trickle it in over a couple of days? How does that all work?
So initially the pool would get filled with how many gallons of water. I would need to do the math or look back through things on about our gallon size. I want to say it's around 55,000. Joe, am I correct?
I think you're right. So we have, unfortunately, Daryl Matsky from our team couldn't be on tonight, who leads our aquatics department. We can get that answer for you.
I'm just asking as a old utility guy similar to Don, just sort of looking at this and the wonder of how things get done sometimes. And yeah, no, good project. Thank you.
Alex, also a lot of the facilities do drain their pools at least once a year, if not more, and clean and refill or do maintenance on the pool. So.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's provisions for that. I mean, we don't want to. We have reserves in the tank. We know how fast the tank will fill from a utility perspective, and if it comes from our fire hydrant, does a faster fill than the 2-inch hose or an inch and a half, that the residential people use. I'm sure it's all worked out. It's just a random question. So thanks.
We don't plan on draining it every 6 months or every year. We've found some good quality chemicals that reduce the amount of TDS, which would be a cause to drain a pool. So we have more efficient chemicals, and I'm pretty up on top on cleaning and maintenance to avoid draining. Since it is a hefty project, it does take time for me. It would probably take 4 days for me to drain, clean the pool, refill, get the chemicals balanced. So it's not something I plan to do often. It's not fun.
Are there questions for Dolphin Swim Academy? The commission members. I'll just make a quick comment. I think from my perspective of being a parent and shuttling kids off to swim lessons, this albeit years ago, selfishly, this would have been wonderful to have a number of years ago. So I think from a community perspective, it's a nice service and a nice business to put into our community. And that's just my general comment regarding this. The rest of it, I sat through ARC review and everything, so I've got a pretty good idea of how things are laying out and what the conditions are and everything. Any other questions for Brittany, her team, from commission members? Otherwise, we'll turn it over to staff.
Yeah, I was just gonna selfishly second that as a new resident of the town of Cottage Grove with a 1-year-old. I'm actually ecstatic that there will be a swim academy this close to where I'll be living. So obviously, Brittany and I talk about it a lot offline, but so we're pretty excited.
Very good.
And the dog's excited.
And that's at my house. Sorry. All right, we'll turn it over to Aaron.
Sure. There's a staff report in the packet, and there's also a village action report, which records what happened at the ARC meeting on Friday. So the conditions you would refer to in an approval would be the ones that are in the action report. Many of these have been touched on already, but first condition was that the dumpster area shall be screened with materials matching the building. That would be provided for staff review prior to construction. All rooftop and ground mounted mechanical equipment should be screened. Likewise, those details would be provided to staff prior to construction. We'd be looking for a final landscaping and photometric plans. At the ARC, we discussed that the landscaping plan should show just the current phase of construction, and that the future building and future parking areas would have turf or some sort of acceptable landscaping material. Like someone has used prairie grass, if that's an option, but some kind of landscaping. Curb and gutter should be provided along the driveways, the edges of the parking lot facing the streets, and on any islands in the parking lot. Exterior building material shall be masonry, architectural metal panels, or pre-finished metal panels with no exposed fasteners. And this would include fiber cement panels that have been used elsewhere in the park. The original elevations had a wood panel that the ARC was not comfortable with, but the applicants have agreed to use a different material there. And then the signage, the ARC wants to see that again before it gets approved.
All right, thanks, Aaron. Kevin, from MSA's standpoint.
Yeah, I was just looking at my comments, and I think Aaron pretty much covered most of them. The only ones that I had on here was, that I think weren't touched on, is that it should include, or the site should include, a sidewalk along the west side of Landmark to connect, basically running north and south, basically along the property, and plan for a crossing of limestone to continue that. Right now it goes around the corner down by Commerce and kind of stops partial way up through that lot, but the plan would be to have a sidewalk along that entire stretch through there. And then we have had conversations with the soil borings we've had done in these vacant lots, and have let them know, I believe I let Joe know, I think he was on the email, that basically DNR has approved that they don't have to do infiltration. So all they have to do in this is to basically provide a rain garden per the covenants of the Commerce Park, basically, for stormwater. Otherwise, then they should be good to go as far as that.
And I think our plan per that initial layout, I'm just speaking on behalf of Civil, it's probably going to be where we were showing the retention pond if we needed it. So we'll probably just do it down that end.
Yep.
All right. Any other, thanks, Kevin. Any other questions from commission members? And again, this is a public hearing, so what I'll do is I'll be quiet for a moment. It's here if there's anybody from the public that has any comments. And again, remind those with comments to please share their name and where they live so we can capture that for a record. And then limit your comments to no more than 3 minutes in case we have multiple folks that want to speak. So with that, is anyone on the Zoom or on the audio that would like to speak regarding Dolphin Swim Academy in this proposed conditional use?
John, Paula Severson, 628 Crawford Drive in the Village of Cottage Grove. And I just wanted to voice my strong support for Dolphin Swim Academy in this project. I think that it will be a wonderful facility for families in Cottage Grove and for people of all ages. I think it's a great plan that's been presented, and I hope you will welcome them into the community. Thank you.
Thanks, Paula. Others from the public? All right. At this point, then, with nobody else from the public, we'll close the public hearing and we'll move on to discuss and consider the proposed conditional use permit for Dolphin Swim Academy to allow an indoor instructional land use swim school on lot 15 in the Cottage Grove Commerce Park. Any comments from commission members? Go ahead.
If I can just jump in, this would not have conditions. The conditions apply to the site plan that we'll vote on in the next agenda item.
Right, conditional use permit. That's all it is. Yes, thanks, Aaron.
So, wait, just clarity, there's no conditions for staff or from the engineers at this point? It's just
there's two separate agenda items here. There's the conditional use permit that allows this use, and then there's the site plan. The conditions relate to the site plan, which is
Got it. Thank you.
item number 2.
Second item. Thank you, Aaron, for clarifying that for the commission too.
I'll make the motion to approve the conditional use permit for Dolphin Swim Academy.
Second.
First from Melissa, second from Alex. Any further discussion from the commission members? All right, having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? And I think Kyle is abstaining, even though he's on mute. So,
Yeah, Broom abstain.
all right, thank you, Kyle. All right, motion carries then. And that moves us on to item 10, which is discuss and consider the application for Dolphin Swim Academy for the approval of a site plan of the swim school on lot 15 in the Cottage Grove Commerce Park. Any discussion from the commission members, or is there motion?
I'll make a motion to recommend approval for the application from Dolphin Swim Academy for approval of a site plan for a swim school on lot 15 of the Village of Cottage Grove Commerce Park with the conditions set forth by the Architectural Review Committee and Village, Aaron's comments from village staff and MSA's comments from their staff review.
I will second.
All right, thanks, Don. Thanks, Melissa. Any further discussion from commission members? All right, having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain?
Aye, Broom abstain.
All right, thank you, Kyle. All right, motion carries. Thank you, Joe. Thank you,
Wonderful.
Brittany.
Yeah, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Couple more hurdles done.
Thank you.
All right, now we move on to item 11. This is a presentation from Jordan Schwartz regarding pocket neighborhoods.
Yeah, so Jordan and I spoke a few times. He's a developer who's interested in this specific type of project in the Madison area, potentially in the village, if there's a site that works. I wasn't sure how familiar the Plan Commission was with this type of project. I don't think it's something that we've talked about before. So Jordan was kind enough to put a little presentation together to kind of give us some background on what pocket neighborhoods are.
Great, thank you, Aaron. And I hope everyone will be thrilled that this will be slightly lighter lifting than the last two items. I plan to keep it to 45 minutes per page, and I've got 2 pages. That was a joke.
Yes, thank you.
Happy Tuesday. All right, so I'm going to share my screen here. Can everyone see it?
Jordan, we can. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so again, my name is Jordan Schultz, and I live just up the road, further north on Highway N in the town of Sun Prairie. And my wife and I are raising 3 young daughters there, so we're excited to hear about the swimming pool in Cottage Grove. One of the things we really value is the idea of creating place, and that's why I'd like to share about the pocket neighborhood concept with you this evening. Again, per Aaron and my conversation, it just seemed appropriate to have a very introductory conversation for just a few minutes before we would bring forth an actual proposal. So again, my goal is to basically offer what the concept is, and then to provide any answers to any questions you would have thereafter. Okay, so what is a pocket neighborhood or community? It's basically a micro neighborhood of 10 to 20 smaller homes or townhomes that are circling a shared green space. And you can see both a rendering and a photo below of what that can look like. And basically these are located within a larger neighborhood context. So not off the grid in a farm field, but really part and parcel with a community. Secondly, yards and setbacks are purposefully decreased so that community connections are increased. Again, it's on the order of condominium or apartment living in terms of proximity. However, you've got your own space, which is pleasant. Thirdly, oftentimes a community building is included as part of the development. And so, again, when you've got smaller square footprint for your own residents, you are able to then utilize a community center to have gatherings, whether it's a dinner party or things that I've read about at other pocket communities are cards nights or a knitting class or shared homework sessions. Okay. I'm going to scroll down a little bit here. Item number 4, why would we develop a pocket neighborhood and why would Cottage Grove like one? Ultimately, it increases community connections through community space and higher density. But again, you'll retain a level of independence that is different than a larger condo project or an apartment building. It adds to the social fabric of the village community. Again, my wife and I love coming to Cottage Grove for coffee or for breakfast or for biking the glacial drumlin with our daughters because it's just a pleasant community to be in. And a community, a micro community like this will really add to the fabric. Thirdly, smaller households of 1 to 2 people, both for millennials and baby boomers, comprise over 60% of the population, and yet often still desire home ownership over renting, but options are limited because oftentimes homes are being developed for a family of 3.5 and a larger parcel of land, and generally are oriented around a cul-de-sac of asphalt or concrete rather than oriented around shared green space. Number 2, oftentimes these folks are not necessarily interested in large homes or high levels of yard or home maintenance. So this might be a first-time home buyer for millennials with perhaps a pet. It also could be baby boomers that are downsizing. Thirdly, we all desire social connections and neighborliness, particularly in an age of decreasing personal interaction. And really this type of community affords that personality and connection. And so we think it's going to be very essential for the future of our society beyond COVID to re-engage in social interactions. And again, still have a little bit of privacy to yourself as you have your own townhouse or own standalone single family home. I'm going to scroll down to the next page here. There are 2 examples in Dane County that I'm aware of, and perhaps others may know of others. But one is the cottages at Chapel View. This is over on the west side of Middleton. They're currently pre-selling and they're under construction. It appears about 50% or more are sold at this point. So there's a little map right here of one portion of the development. And then on the right here is one of the homes. And again, you'll see this, it has a very cottage type feel. It's a much smaller square footprint. And it's got, typically these homes have a front porch because it encourages social interaction with that shared space out front. On the left is Troy Gardens. This is on Madison's north side. It was built in 2007. And this one is 32 units, I believe. And these are townhouse types. So again, it's all side-by-side townhouses around 2 shared green spaces. Okay. I'm going to scroll down here to number 6. Next steps. Where are we at in the planning process? Again, this is very early introductory conversation, just to simply communicate and to connect with you and to describe where we're at. We're looking for a site, again, 1 to about 2 acres per neighborhood phase. So as I showed above with Middleton, I don't know the size of this particular portion, but you could imagine what this would be, about 1.5 acres for these 6 homes, perhaps another 1.5 acres for these 7 homes. So you can do that per phase of the development. We're currently working on the home design, again, both single family and townhome. And obviously, most of you know construction prices right now are very high. And so it makes threading the needle a bit difficult, but we're excited to continue to push it forward. Obviously, next steps thereafter and locking in this site would be going through the process of rezoning and addressing those types of issues. So last item here is just a quick question. How can the Planning Commission help? Again, basically, this is an introductory conversation. You can put a face with the name, so when you see us coming back in short order with a proposal, you'll know who we are. And then also to offer a time here for brief questions. And I don't know how much time we've got left, but again, if you've got questions with this concept or about myself, please don't hesitate to ask.
Thanks, Jordan. Are there questions from commission members?
Alex here. I'd like the approach. I think there are similar places in Cottage Grove that look like this, but they weren't intended. It wasn't planned, right? So there's some areas where, like the backyards, where it's an odd-shaped street, and so there's that little common area, and those sort of areas look really nice. And here, where you're doing a more deliberate layout for that common area, is very nice. We also had a presentation by Andrew Homburg a few years back at Village Board, where just north of Glacial Drumlin, they were looking at creating more community-oriented housing with paths, and it leads to a fire pit or something like that. So it's a very interesting concept, and I think you could find some fits here in Cottage Grove as well. So thank you for presenting this today.
Thank you. Yeah, and just I know you are all very well connected to the community. So our target area, and what I've communicated with Aaron is really off of somewhere off of N, probably around the vicinity of Cottage Grove Road, or south, going south toward Glacial Drumlin, toward the cafe there, etc., toward the retirement community. Somewhere in that vicinity would be ideal. So that's been our target as we look for sites.
Don Brinkmeyer here. I like the concept as a means of in lieu of multifamily housing to accomplish the same goals. My only issues on developments like this I see in some existing similar ones are parking, and sometimes I like the whole concept of having the back alley entrance to the garages, but sometimes it seems like we're a little tight and we barely have room for an extra vehicle outside in front of the garages.
Sure.
So I'd like to see that laid out so that they can fit and maneuver without ended up on the grass or rutting the grass up. Just that's well thought out. And then when people do have family gatherings or get-togethers, that there's a logistical place to park more than normal
good.
cars.
Thank you.
Kinsale, what do you have a price point, or do you have a price point yet?
That's been the difficult part, is because at the price for a single family home, entry level, brand new, is so sky high right now. So it feels a bit ridiculous. And so we've tried to dial in, all right, well, if average for certain areas is 340 or 360, how do you get under that? So right now, depending on whether it goes a mix of townhouse and single family standalone, it'll really depend on how the layout goes for costs of parcel per unit per dwelling. So really, we don't have it dialed in as a bottom line, but our goal is to make this somewhat affordable, not affordable in the sense of affordable housing, but accessible, so that it's not something that is egregiously expensive for a couple or for even a single.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Kim, I don't know if you just Googled Chapel View in Middleton. There's 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, $356,000. It's very high price points over there in Middleton. So hopefully Cottage Grove is able to provide something in the market significantly less than that for a 2 bedroom, 2 bath.
That's exactly our thought.
you need to be in the low 200s, honestly, for a 2 bed, 2 bath.
Yeah. Well, especially, again, the idea of the community-centric development is fantastic, but does that mean that you can, charge more for the house? That's not the goal. The goal is really to make the development sustainable so that people can actually afford to live there. Because again, to think about buying a $350,000 house, in that context, I think is very difficult.
Other questions for Jordan?
Hi, this is Melissa Ratcliffe. I saw a presentation by Kurt Paulson last year. He's with UW, and he did, I think it was at the League of Wisconsin Municipalities Conference, and he had brought up this type of pocket neighborhood community. And I think it makes a lot of sense. It builds community, and it's more, it uses space wisely, and it's more environmentally friendly. So I hope that we're able to find a spot where it fits in Cottage Grove. And I appreciate you wanting to look at having it be a good starting price point as well, because that is something that we are lacking here in most communities. So thank you for this presentation.
Well, thank you for the time.
Any other questions or comments for Jordan?
Jordan, I just wanted to let you know you have about a half hour left if you still need it. No, Kyle Broom here. I think the concept looks really good, and there's a big need for it in Cottage Grove, and it would be well supported, in my opinion.
Thank you. Good. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, and Jordan, thank you for sticking with us, and also providing yet something else from an option perspective. If this does come to fruition for the citizens of Cottage Grove, I think this is a definite. I think you could find a niche in Cottage Grove, probably any community around Dane County, but certainly I think be welcomed here.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. We'll move on then to item 12 is discuss and consider a public participation plan for proposed comprehensive plan amendment for planned mixed use for area number 2. Aaron, do you want to walk us through your memo?
Yeah, so this is related to the concept that Kevin Metcalf and his team showed us last month for the property Kevin owns on the north side of BB over by the CVS. You'll recall he was showing kind of a grouping of 4-unit buildings. And as we said at the time, that would require a comp plan amendment. And since there seemed to be some level of support for that project, they'd like to go ahead and try to make that comp plan change in October. Part of the process per statute, we have to have a written public participation plan when we amend the comp plan. So basically that's what this is here in the staff recommendation. Just some of this is dictated by state statute that there's a list of certain entities we have to notify, neighboring governments and things like that. There's a class 1 public hearing notice that's required. We would have a public hearing at the October meeting for it. And then since this is going to be a planned unit development and most likely a plat, they're going to have a neighborhood meeting for that anyway. So that can also basically function as another input session for the comp plan change as well.
All right, thanks, Aaron. Any questions from commission members?
So what is your ask here? You're asking for a motion to approve your progression to this play. We're not updating the amendment. We have some action items, right? So you're looking for us to give you guidance to go.
Yeah, you're approving this list of action items that will provide the public participation for the change that happens at a later date.
Okay. So then, John, I'll make a motion to approve the staff recommended plan for the public. I don't know how it is for this staff recommendation for the plan to amend the comprehensive plan and it's around that specific parcel. Just want to clarify that.
Yeah, you could just reference planned mixed use area number 2. That's how it's identified in the comp plan now.
Okay. So motion for staff to continue on its. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to bail. I think it's 8:00. Anyone have a better word?
To approve the public participation plan for the potential comp plan amendment to mixed use area number 2.
Thank you, Aaron. I move Aaron's words.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second Alex.
Second by Kyle. All right, thank you. Any further discussion by commission members? All right. All those in favor then?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody disagree? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. Thanks, Aaron. Item 13 is discuss the potential zoning amendment related setbacks in parks. This is Aaron's show today, so Aaron, keep going.
Yeah, this is something that our Parks Director kind of came to me with. As you recall, there's a small pocket park in the northwest corner of the West Lawn, 4th Ave, the Hamburg neighborhood, which is smaller than most of the parks we have in the village now. And as they're in the process of kind of laying out what amenities could be in that park, we realize there's kind of a setback issue. The setbacks for park equipment that are written into the ordinance are really written with much larger several acre minimum parks in mind, whereas this one in West Lawn I think is less than an acre. So the 50-foot setback on that 0.8 acre park doesn't really leave you a whole lot of room for any kind of playground equipment or anything. So we're not amending anything tonight. We're just looking for feedback, and if there's support for it, we would come back and do a hearing and make the actual change. But I think what we would like to do is, in cases where the parks are less than an acre, we would have a shorter.
And Aaron, that kind of makes sense with the whole discussion about micro, communities or micro, areas and such. So I mean, as long as we're only looking at parks that are less than an acre, I think that kind of is logical, because otherwise you're really restricted, and it's a park, you want to make sure it's used. And so if getting rid of those setbacks helps you get something in there that works for that part of the community, I think that's beneficial.
That 50 feet could be, a huge playground or a ball field or anything.
Right.
The size of these smaller parks kind of dictates it's just going to be a small piece of play equipment or a gazebo or something like that, not a major amenity.
I've seen these parks meetings, and I've always appreciated the amount of effort that the Parks Committee and then even the village board engages the community for what to put there. And I think, the 50-foot setback for less than an acre, I think you get a tetherball maybe just in the middle, and this will open up some options. So this proposal looks good.
Any other comments from commission members?
I'll just say it makes sense to me for us to look at the setbacks, and that would, as long as it's just for parks that are 1 acre or less, I think, as a rule, rather than in general. And I take it that you've looked at other communities and what they've done as well, Aaron.
We can go through and find some specific numbers, but certainly there are small parks like this in other communities that have amenities in them. So.
So it's not necessarily that this 15 feet came from what other communities do. It's just what we're looking at with this park and what makes sense going forward.
It's an example of what it could be. We'll come up with a more specific number when we actually have the ordinance language.
Okay. And then I see that it notes that there'd probably be some sort of landscaping buffer between like residential then and the park, so that it's not like the playground's not right in somebody's side yard or backyard even, so to speak. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Okay, Aaron, is that enough of direction? Because this is not it's just discuss. It's not a discuss, consider.
Yep, sounds like there's support, so we'll come back and make it official at a later meeting.
All right, super. All right, then moving on then to item 14 is discuss the Plan Commission representative on the Village of Cottage Grove Housing Task Force. Aaron put some background on this in the packet. I don't know if you want to touch on this, Aaron, or not.
Yeah, so we're putting this housing task force together. It was on hold a little bit due to COVID, but now we're kind of moving forward. John's in the process of getting members recruited. The direction we got from the village board is they wanted to see one member from the Plan Commission and one from the CDA. You don't have to draw straws or nominate anybody tonight, but we just put the application in there and provided this opportunity to ask questions. But if you're interested, just reach out to me or John or both, and we'll get you on your way to being on the committee.
Any questions regarding the Housing Task Force?
What's the makeup of the committee again? How many board members and then citizens are you looking for?
It's 2 board members, and we're trying to get a real mix across a number of different areas and experiences, as well as representative for the community to provide input on just overall looking at the housing options in Cottage Grove and maybe recommendations for the future. And so the committee would come together and sort through this stuff, maybe bring guest speakers to get more expertise in certain areas, and then ultimately come up with a report for the board, as well as other committees that might be impacted, so that they can then take some direction from that. And that may mean, changing ordinance, and maybe looking at something different in zoning. I don't know what they'll recommend. I have no idea what this group will, but it's just a means of trying to bring a good swath of expertise and experiences to, what we all know is a challenging problem. We do have a lot of single family homes and a few apartments in the village, not a lot of variety at this point. And that puts challenges on for a lot of different individuals who would either like to stay in Cottage Grove or like to come to Cottage Grove. Aaron, did I kind of cover that correctly? Or is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, I think so. I think Alex was maybe asking specifically about who might be on it. I think we have some school board members that have expressed an interest. We'd like some representatives from the chamber, a resident who's a property owner, a resident who's a renter, some business representatives, plan commissioner, a CDA member. Maybe some that I'm forgetting.
7 people or 5 people or 20 people?
They didn't put a specific number on it. We could have multiple representatives at these various things, but I think we're aiming to have, at least 12 or so at any given meeting.
Okay.
Let's just look. We're trying to have it be larger because it's going to be a working committee that's going to individual members on the committee will be asked to probably draft various parts of the document that they'll ultimately be submitting to the board. And then after that's complete, I don't know that it'll be necessarily disbanded right away, but the intention is that this is essentially like a 1-year study committee. So that's kind of the level of commitment, meeting once or however long it's needed to put that report together.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right. So you can just reach out to myself and Aaron if you are interested. So and that would be great. Then we have, next item is just to talk about a little bit about future agenda items. Aaron, we've got a number of things kind of in process. You want to cover those? We'll be seeing again.
I don't have the list in front of me, but the Metcalf property, they're interested in coming back in October, potentially not only with the comp plan, but maybe the first step of a PUD as well. And there are other ones that are escaping my memory at the moment.
Does Dolphin need to come back through here again?
No, they need to go back to the ARC for signage, but they wouldn't have to come back here.
Okay. And I know there's some other things percolating too that might hit us in October. So
at least one concept plan that I'm thinking of that may come in.
yes. Yeah. Matt, anything else that you can think of?
No, nothing else jumps out to me.
Okay. Commission members?
Are you planning for the next meeting to be on schedule the 14th?
Yes.
Yeah. That'll make it easier for me to keep it straight instead of saying Tuesday versus Wednesday or Wednesday instead of Tuesday. All right. Item 16 then. Adjournment. Is there a motion?
I'll move to adjourn.
All right,
Second.
Second. Thank you, Alex. This is non-debatable. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, everybody. Have a